question to you is, why is it so important to you to prove evolution false?
Okay, so it's not a matter of wanting to prove evolution false. Something is either false or true. Okay, so it occurs that evolution is false. But then the question is, if it is false, why it is so important to make it obvious that it is false? You see, the issue is that evolution is just not that one other theory that is, sitting around, and if you know if it's false or not false, it does not make a difference. It's not like, for example, that the Newtonian mechanics, for example, have a specific scope, and after a specific scope, it does not work. If you're looking at galactic objects, you need to use general relativity. But to me and you, maybe this doesn't make that much of a difference. But evolution, in terms of biological evolution, is answering to a specific existential question, which is, who are we, right? And it is also answering to a question about all this creation around us. So it needs to be clear whether this creation is an intended act of God, which then gives it purpose, or there are creatures that are living and moving around us, just as there are mountains and rocks and seas and oceans. It is just the natural development of how things work in the universe. Okay? So you have inanimate things, and then you have abiogenesis or abiogenesis, which moves things from being inanimate to being first living cell, and then from there it is just life, evolving itself.
No purpose, as in.
So it means that there is no intent, and hence, since there is no intent, there is no purpose. And if there is no intent and no purpose, there is nothing coming from to. And since there is no from to, then there are no demands on your life, because you're not going anywhere. You're just going back to the soil where you have come from, and life is just those cycles. So there is the water cycle. There is water in the ocean, it evaporates, it's rain, it goes down to the plants, it's used here and there, and then eventually it goes maybe to a river, goes back to the ocean, and then evaporates. So it's a cycle. So it's likewise with life. It's just a cycle. There's nothing there. There's nothing happening. And so we need essentially to answer or to have, in my opinion, one of three positions. Either that all what happens around us in terms of life is a completely mechanical process that has nothing to do with intent or purpose whatsoever, which is essentially the assertion of the theory.
Okay.
That all of this is just mechanical stuff, and there is nothing else. Or there is creation, which means everything that has to do with life is intended to be this way, is purposeful, and this one specific creature in nature has a specific role. It is there because it should be there. And if it's not there, then it is intended not to be there. Things are not haphazard. Human beings have intellect and have language and have free will because this is the way they are intended. Not because this is the natural way where if this starts on Mars, you will essentially also reach this status because it's mechanical. And then you will need to think, okay, we have free will and we are able to think. So using the thinking, we can reason, and then we have the free will, so we can take decisions, we can select our course of action, and then we can either work toward the purpose, which is the original intent of our being, or work to a different purpose. And this will then decide our destiny. So this is the, let's say, this is the far left. There's no intent, there's nothing, and the right side is, there is intent, there is purpose, everything is planned. It is how it is because this is the way, and no other way was possible because this is designed. And then there is the middle way. Okay, the middle way is that it's not like the middle way because this is the sweet spot or where we would, but it is an option and it's an alternative, which is that there is an intent and there is purpose, okay, everything, but it is done in a very subtle way, such that it can give the impression of being mechanical, but through very subtle mechanisms in this mechanicity, it is being led and guided, okay? Which is what some theists would like to resolve to.
So that they kind of hold the middle ground between evolution and creationism.
Yes, so they will tell evolutionists, okay, we accept that there is what you call mutations and natural selection, and that it looks to you that it is random, but guess what? It is not random. Because what is random? Random is that there are so many possible outcomes, and there is no specific way to predict which exact outcome will come out until and unless it happens. If it's truly random, if I'm throwing dice and this dice is really fair dice, then the outcome is random because there is no way for me to tell if the outcome will be a 7 or an 11 or a 9 of those two dice together, unless I throw the dice.
I was going to say there's no 7 or 9 in a single dice.
No, it's two dice. Yeah. So if this is totally random, then I cannot guess. If I can guess, and my guess is better than 1/36, which is all the possible outcomes, then it is not a fair dice. It's not truly random, right or not? Because somebody who can bet on it.
You're the mathematician here.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be able to
yeah.
go very far with you.
So what those guys in the middle ground say, that it looks random to you guys, you naturalists, you materialists. It looks natural. It looks random to you, but guess what? This is not really fair dice. Yeah, it is rigged. And the one who's rigging it is making it in very subtle ways. So if it needs a 7, it's going to be a 7. And if the next step of evolution is 11, it is going to come out 11. Alright? But from the perspective of evolutionists, number 2 and number 3 are both rejected. Are unacceptable. Because the whole point behind evolutionary thinking, irrespective of what kind of evolutionary thinking we are considering. If it's the theory of evolution of species, it is completely mechanical. If it's abiogenesis, it is mechanical. If it is even the existence of the universe, Big Bang, inflation, stellar evolution, planetary evolution, all of this, all of these lines of thinking are making the assertion that there is nothing but the laws of physics. You have the material things and you have the laws of physics, and out of those two, everything is following an unplanned, undesigned path. Okay?
Is it, do you think that evolution itself is the culprit, the theory of evolution, or do you think that it has been misused? I guess, let me just rephrase the question. Do atheists and agnostics take advantage of the theory of evolution to try to strengthen their position on the absence of a God? Or was the evolution theory put in place with the intent of denying the existence of God through it? Do you get my question?
Yeah, so if you look at it, you will find that it's not very important which one came first, really. But let's look at the status quo.
This is what's happening.
Yeah. So what's happening is that if you are an atheist or an agnostic, you still need to make sense out of your surroundings, right or not?
Right.
Because you
Because
cannot
it's there.
you cannot just have no explanation whatsoever. Okay. So being an atheist means that you do not acknowledge God. Being an agnostic means that you neither acknowledge or not acknowledge. You just don't know. But if you don't know, it means that you cannot see a relation between the existence of God and the existence of the universe in the way it is. So you need to have an independent interpretation or an independent reasoning for why things are the way they are. And this alternative reasoning is the naturalistic thinking under which biological evolution falls.
So, is it true that your position is that evolution cannot be proven to be true, or is it your position that evolution is actually false? It cannot be true.
My position is that it cannot be true.
Not that it cannot be proven to be true.
No, my position is that it is false.
It is false.
It is flat out false.